Hello, everyone. Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal, where you can see once again I'm joined by Team News and Ticks for our weekly transfer talk show. A little bit different this week. Instead of a pre-recorded one, we're going live. We're opening it up to you guys to get involved during this lunchtime. What better way to start the weekend? How you getting on, Team News and Ticks? All good, mate?
Yeah, all good. Got back from Germany late Monday night. Left Germany, it's 30 degrees. Got back here, it's torrential rain, but I think I brought the weather with me. I'm taking all credit for that. But yeah, all good.
Nice one. All sort of recovered from Germany. I mean, how long were you there? About 4 weeks, weren't you, all in?
I went on June 14th and came back July 15th. So yeah, a month. Yeah, getting back to the real world. To be honest, I wanted to get back to the real world, like as much as I loved going to the games and stuff. Everyday life, just your normal everyday life. You used to seeing friends, blah blah blah. You do start to miss it.
Yeah, it was. That's a hell of a long stint over there doing that. So close as well, so close to coming back with a trophy. But yeah, football won in the end, didn't they? Spain deserving winners.
Yeah. I mean, look, Spain were the best team throughout the tournament. To be honest, if you were probably to list the 5 best teams throughout the tournament, I'm not sure England would be in there. So just to come out and win it would probably have been unjust. But it happens quite a lot with the Euros. Obviously, we've seen Greece win it. We've seen when Portugal won it, they came third in their group. I don't think they won a game the whole tournament in normal time. But so these things can happen, but they just don't happen to us.
No, they don't happen to us. Another couple of years, always a World Cup, and then the Euros afterwards. Look, we've already got lots of people I can see in the comments all getting involved. Chris is involved. Oh, it's Chris. Hello, mate. I haven't spoken to Chris for a long time. Good to see you on board. Lots of people getting involved and waiting for this one. So I think we'll just get stuck right into it. And it's been not too much going on while the Euros were away. I remember speaking before the tournament started when me and you were having a chat, wondering, how busy the market was going to be and what Arsenal would do while the Euros is on. And, the answer is pretty much nothing. It's all been very quiet, but it is beginning to bubble up. We're seeing some big moves. Manchester United obviously spending a fair bit of cash in the last week or so. Still nothing yet with Arsenal. I mean, as Luke says, the latest on Calafiori, it's one we've been waiting for a good couple of weeks to try and get over the line. It hasn't happened yet. I mean, the latest is, well, as far as I'm aware, and I don't know if you're different, but the latest now is the same as what it was about a week ago, and the club still aren't able to agree a fee for Calafiori. Until that's done, obviously you can't complete the signing, and that's where Arsenal are with him at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying and been told nothing's really changed the whole time, and I think this is the problem with sort of daily updates, is you're always expecting something new, but the fact is that just doesn't really happen. I've always been, and it's not like any inside information or anything, it's just my reasoning for it, my logic on it, that something would happen towards the back end of this week, which is now where we're at, because he's back from holiday now. The signing actually could be completed now, whereas if we'd agreed it a week ago, nothing would have happened until now anyway. So again, opinion, not anything else, but I would expect an advancement on that in the next day or so. But as of now, from all I know, that there's no change.
Yeah, and Bologna have called him back and started pre-season. He's in pre-season training with Bologna. The issue just seems to be over this sell-on clause that they have with Basel, who are quite rightly refusing to budge at the moment, really, when it comes to that sell-on clause, which they have about, I think it's 50%, isn't it? And they're seeing a big sort of payday sitting in front of them. So why would they budge on that at the moment? It's not really up to them to do that. It's up for Arsenal and Bologna to be able to agree something. Like you said, I mean, the fact that Arsenal go on tour this weekend, and we know Mikel has put so much sort of value in getting players on board before they go to the US tour. Over the last couple of years, he would have. There's no doubt in my mind he would have wanted this done by now, but obviously it hasn't happened, and it looks like they are going to be heading out on tour with no new signings, unless, which might actually happen, a goalkeeper signs between now and when they fly out. And I still think there could be quite a good chance of that happening. Tommy Setford, definitely. I think there's a good chance that could be announced, and it wouldn't surprise me if they go back in for Dan Bentley again. I am expecting a second bid at some point for him.
Yeah, so someone messaged me this morning saying, is Setford being announced today? And I checked, and as far as I know, they're not. He's not, but I'm sure they will want him for tour. And Bentley, again, some experience, but again, I was told we would go back in, but we were sort of 20 times under the valuation that Wolves wanted. So you'd imagine the background talks are going to be quite difficult.
Yeah, 50 grand, 50 grand for a Premier League player to another Premier League club. That was, yeah, I know. I think Wolves signed him for that amount of money.
57 they signed him for.
A lot of people point out, but it's like, yeah, well, they did sign him for that amount of money, but he has played for them in the Premier League since then and going to another Premier League club. I can't imagine for a second Arsenal were expecting that to be accepted. It does seem strangely low when you're probably expecting to continue negotiations. You're going to annoy the other club, I think, with a 50 grand bid for another player. Lots of people. There's so many questions coming in now. I'll start flicking through plenty of them. Have you seen the rumor today about, Ads talks about it here, about Obi visiting Carrington, and that Man United have offered him a big contract? Now, this has literally broken just as we were about to start filming this, so I haven't been able to start really sort of checking it out yet. And I think the story actually has now been deleted, the story that was put up about it. But there was talk that the Obi Martin, who we know Arsenal are trying to keep at the moment and keep out of the clutches of the clubs in Germany, has now visited this week Carrington to talk about potential move to Man United. And as you can imagine, that's caused quite a stir on social media. What's your immediate thought when you saw this or heard this?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, it's now been deleted, so we don't know how sort of trustworthy it is. And that the same account that originally posted it, I don't know if it's been picked up elsewhere, had also said that an announcement was imminent with Arsenal a week or so ago. So the reliability is also questionable. But also, I don't see the sense in Man United. Like, if Cheeto goes abroad, then he can be a full-time pro straight away, more money, and all the stuff that comes with that, sponsorship deals, etc. Staying in the UK wouldn't make sense to me. And this, again, me just thinking out loud, because he would still only sign a scholar. The wages, you'd imagine, wouldn't be as big as they would abroad, just because of the having to be a scholar instead of a full-time pro. And Man United especially doesn't make sense to me, because they've obviously just signed Xerxes. They've got Højlund, who is sort of 21, 22. I know Cheeto's away off the first team now, but say 2-3 years, he'll think I'll be ready to play in 2-3 years. But then their two strikers will only be sort of 23, 24, 25, them sort of age range. So it's like the pathway isn't really clear. So yeah, Man United, and I don't know if the news is true at all. There's obviously huge doubts about it because of it's been deleted. But the Man United just wouldn't make sense to me.
No, that was my first immediate thought when I saw it. It was just like, that just doesn't make too much sense. Like you said, he goes over to Germany now, signs a pro contract. I mean, I think he turns 17 in November, isn't it? So he would, even if he signed Scholar at United, if he didn't make that move, that contract would be turned to a pro contract just in a few months' time. And who knows? Maybe they're offering unbelievable amounts of money and blowing Arsenal out of the water with that. So we'll have to wait and see on it. But I had a conversation with someone about Obi Martin not long ago, and it was kind of reaffirmed to me that Arsenal are doing all they can to keep him, and that they absolutely haven't given up hope of keeping him away from Germany, but also that they're not going to be held to ransom for a very, very young player, no matter how talented he is. There comes a point where you've got to stop offering an amount of money. You get to a limit, and but I was again assured that they were absolutely still trying to keep him. And so yeah, we're interested to see how that goes. I can't imagine the reaction would be very good, certainly from Arsenal fans, if he does end up going there of all places. Did you see this? Nicolas Pepe's interview he gave to L'Equipe yesterday about his time at Arsenal and how he felt at times from the sort of spotlight, the negativity he was getting from social media, from the media. He said certain people within Arsenal as well. And, he was really talking about how it affected him, and he almost, considered quitting football at a stage. It was quite powerful stuff from Nicolas.
I saw extracts of it, so I didn't read the full thing. I saw quotes from it. It didn't surprise me, to be honest. I think you could. I mean, I don't know. It's difficult from the outside, and we all think we're psychologists and whatnot. But I don't think he ever looked happy early on. Like, even the way he played early on, like his first was at Villa. So he played his first start, I think, was not Villa, sorry, Burnley. And he was like taking players on, nutmegging on, playing with a smiley face, trying stuff, and it working. And then if you compare that to sort of the Pepe we saw towards the end, he was like playing in his shell, and he was so scared to make a mistake that he wouldn't do anything, and then he would make a mistake because he wasn't doing anything. So it didn't really come as a surprise to see he felt like that. I mean, people always like to think that players, because they earn so much money, should be above the criticism of the press and fans on social media, but they're humans at the end of the day, and they notice a lot more than people think. I had this season a player moan about something that was going around on social media, which most people would have thought wouldn't have even bothered the player, but they notice it.
Yeah, no, absolutely, 100%. You know, they like you said, they're all human beings. It doesn't really matter how much money they cost and what money they're being paid. They're all human beings at the end of the day. And when you're under so much scrutiny, which Pepe was from all angles as well, you're always going to, you know, it can certainly affect. You've got to have really sort of broad shoulders and strong head to be able to brush that sort of stuff off. And I agree, towards the end, you could tell, you know, all confidence had drained away from Nicolas Pepe, and he wasn't the same player we saw when he arrived. But yeah, it was quite sort of sad almost to read that and to see he's now obviously 29, free agent, been released. Where was he? Over in Germany? Besiktas, was it? One of the not Germany,
Turkey. Yeah. I don't know what team it was, but it was in Turkey. Yeah.
And yeah, 29, free agent. It's just mad when you think the excitement when he signed for 72 million was unbelievable. But lots of people getting in touch just to say hello at the moment. Lots of people asking about Obi Martin, and we've already talked about. I mean, Jay Kuma here asked about Eze, but just on ESR, obviously we know the news has come through this week that Fulham have bid. I haven't had it confirmed that Palace have bid. I know that Fulham definitely have. I haven't had it confirmed. I know Palace are interested, but I haven't had it confirmed that any bid has yet to arrive from Crystal Palace. But with the tour coming up, are you expecting anything to happen sort of between now and the tour? Because I'm fully expecting Fulham to come in with a second offer, but it'll be interesting to see if Emil does head off on the tour, because you imagine he probably is going to have to.
Yeah, so I can never say his name properly. Dharma Chef. I think he went too early because people from Palace have told me they will bid, but they haven't. And a few other journalists, I think Sammy said the same. So he's obviously spoke to people that have told him, look, we are interested and we do intend to bid, but we haven't yet. Obviously, Dharma said that both teams had bid. I don't think that's true. I think it is just Fulham. In terms of, I don't think Fulham will reach an agreement by Sunday. Essentially, I think with him it wouldn't be an issue, as in their personal terms. But there's been multiple reports about the bid. Some were saying it wasn't a million miles off what Arsenal want, but then I've seen that the bid was sort of laughable. And look, you can't criticise teams for doing that when we've done what we've done with Dan Bentley, but if the bridge between what we want and what they've offered is that far, I can't just see one single offer coming in on, say, tonight or Saturday that takes him off that plane, especially when our squad is so threadbare, which won't make a difference. But I just think there's a lot of ground to make up in the short space of time.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's kind of what I've heard. We've got Reece Nelson as well, potentially off to West Ham, and that seems to be growing at the moment. It's interesting though when you look at that tour and you look at the amount of bodies Arsenal have actually got to go over on the US. You know, they're not exactly flush. I know more have arrived back today. So Zinchenko will be arriving today. Kiwior will be arriving today. I'm not sure if there's anyone else. It's basically everyone who went out.
Georgie.
Who? Georgie. Yeah. So people who went out in the group stages come back today, and then people who went out in the quarters and the semis will go and join the tour about a week into it, or just under a week into it, and then obviously the people who are in the final will come back after the tour. So Arsenal are not exactly going to be absolutely flush. Some of the youngsters are going to go. Ethan's probably going to go.
Ethan and Miles are going, I think.
Yeah, and Aidan Heaven as well, I think, has been taught. So James Gunnerblog put into his piece today that he'd heard that he was probably going to go as well, and others might. But when you look at Reece, with potentially moving to West Ham, Eddie, Marseille, Emil, Fulham, or Palace, whoever, it'll be interesting if those do, even if they do go, if they all make it to the end of the tour, because you would think, you know, the next couple of weeks is going to be really, really hot when it comes to potential transfers. And for Arsenal right now, as much as we all want incomings, outgoings are going to be a really sort of crucial part of the next fortnight or 3 weeks or so.
Yeah, I think I don't know the dates of theirs, but West Ham are also touring America. So the Reece thing, you know, they'll be in the same country and he could go from one tour to another, really.
That was Zinchenko, didn't we? He was over there with the City and then just flew over and joined up with us.
Yeah, so I think Reece could be something similar. As far as I understand with him, is he's agreement with them. He's agreed with them. I'd imagine verbally because it can't be put into writing yet. I'm not sure the state of things between the clubs. There's no, as far as I'm aware, there's not. They're talking, but there's not been an offer. And usually, when that happens, the first offer tends to be accepted because you discuss it all in the background and make the offer once it's all agreed. That's usually how things work. Obviously, doesn't always work like that.
Think West Ham would be a good move for Reece?
Personally, as in for him, it suits what he wants, staying local, etc. In terms of playing time, it's difficult because I mean it's hard to know what Lopetegui's going to do. Really, under Moyes, I would have said no because they were pretty set on playing Bowen and Kudos wide. I don't know if they're going to see things, how they're going to see things, if they're going to do things a bit differently. But yeah, it's really hard to know. I think he will look good with playing time somewhere, and it could be West Ham. Especially look, for me, he's much better on the left, and I'm trying to think who they would use on the left. If they use Bowen up top and use Kudos right, then Reece could do well on the left there.
Yeah, well, the talk is that they're looking at him as a left-sided player, isn't it? And I just feel with Reece, what is he 24 now? I don't know. Is he turned 25? If you're Reece Nelson right now, it is time to go. It is absolutely time to go, and you've got to back yourself to go and be a hit somewhere in the Premier League. And I just think when you look around, and like you said, he's very much a London boy. He likes his kind of home comforts, and I just get the feeling it might be a decent move for Reece heading over there. I think he might do pretty well because there is a definite player there in Reece. If you can get his head down, kind of feel part of it, I think he's shown that he can do it in the Premier League, and I think West Ham would be a decent move for him. And for Arsenal, if they get 20 million around, give or take that sort of figure, maybe just under or even a little bit above it, that's not a bad deal for a player who just 12 months ago, all the talk was he was going to be heading away on a free, and they've managed to convince him to sign his new contract. So I think it'd be a good move for all parties should that one go through.
Well, it was West Ham he nearly joined as well, and I don't know if he's maybe feeling some kind of regret because he didn't really get any minutes last season. But yeah, I think it's a good move for him to go and get football and show what he can do.
Yeah. Ben asked about Pedro Neto. There's been a lot of talk I've seen on social today. A few people have been popping up on my timeline talking about Neto. I haven't actually seen where this new stuff has come from.
Fraz Fletcher.
Oh right, okay, yeah. Team talks. Any news on him? Arsenal like Pedro Neto and have liked him for a long time. There's been talks with, behind the scenes on Neto, and it wouldn't surprise me if this was something that sort of gets revisited before the end of the window. If Arsenal haven't, I think Nico Williams is clearly the player that if they were going to bring in a wide player that they really, really want this window, it'd probably be Nico. But it looks like that's going to be a hard deal to pull off this summer. And if that starts to look absolutely impossible, it wouldn't at all surprise me to see them revisit their interest in Pedro Neto.
Yeah, I don't want to call Neto the last option, but he's always someone that they've admired. And I think if the price is right and they can't get their first targets, it's something they'll do. Essentially what you just said. Just while we're on it, I do want to speak quickly on Nico Williams. So I said the other day I'd heard from someone that wasn't like a regular source that we would plan to meet him this week. And then I spoke to my regular guys who said we really love him, but they wouldn't clarify if there was a meeting or not. Or they did. That obviously then got around Twitter as we're definitely having a meeting with him this week. And then I've subsequently had people going, how did the meeting go? I have no idea if there was a meeting. And it's probably fair to say that it doesn't seem like there was. But as I said, I know the club's interest is real. And if Barcelona can't get it done for financial reasons, then we are positioning ourselves for it to be us. How long we wait for that is obviously a different story. I know we tried really hard to get him in before the Euros, but again, Barcelona was his preference. So it's waiting around, and I don't know how long we'll wait around, but he is our top choice if it is possible.
It feels a bit like Rafinha from a couple of years ago at the moment, this one. Always felt like it would be Barcelona, but you're kind of there hanging around for a bit just in case the Barcelona can't manage to secure the finances to get it done. Obviously, they did on that occasion.
Yeah, hopefully we've learned from that, because obviously that year we end up leaving it ages and not getting anyone in that position. And if you're sure of getting him, Nico is worth waiting around for. I think he's a top player already, and he's so young he could become anything he wants. But you don't want to be hanging on, miss out, and then you've got no time to do anything, or you have to wildly overspend because teams know you're desperate.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think he's definitely worth hanging on for a little bit if you can, but yeah, you don't want to leave yourself. There's basically no time to pivot onto anything else, and I think we all agree that Arsenal need to do something, just add something to their attacking ranks before the end of the window. I've got lots of people here asking you about this mystery German that has been the talk of Arsenal's transfer window, certainly on social media. We sort of laughed about it a few shows ago, and lots of people are asking about it now. Have you come back from Germany with any idea on what's going on with that?
I have had not a single word more on it. Multiple position player. That's the end of my knowledge on it.
Yeah, it's not something I've heard anything on, I have to say. Life of Ted says, I read somewhere reported that Arsenal and Bologna have agreed a fee, but are waiting on Bologna to buy a replacement. What are the likelihood that this is true? No, I don't think that is true. I've certainly not heard that Arsenal have agreed a fee. I think it would be probably easier if Bologna do get their hands on a replacement. It might be easier to end up doing a deal with them because they know they're not going to be less short. But I haven't heard that they've agreed a fee at all. But we'll wait.
Wasn't they? Who was they were quite linked quite strongly with someone yesterday? Was it Rugani?
Yeah,
I can't remember who it was. When I see stuff like this, and you might see it different because of your job, I often read stuff like this and think the press are just looking for something to say.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because it's like, how would you possibly know that, and why would Arsenal agree to that? Like, how long do you wait? If you want the player in, you want the player in. I never read. There's the odd occasion where stuff like that is true, and again, this is one of them where it could make sense because the player wasn't available. But I just usually see that as people trying to fill column inches. I know it's different now with social media, but that's obviously the expression.
Mm-hmm. Where should we go now? Yeah, Kiwior, that was interesting talking. While we're talking about Calafiori, there's certainly been reports in Italy that Kiwior was kind of offered as a bit of a make weight, but he didn't want to go to Bologna, which wouldn't surprise me given the Italian clubs that are in for Kiwior if he is to leave Arsenal. And that's no slight against Bologna, who have been fantastic and obviously in Champions League football next season. But the fact that we know that Juventus are definitely interested in Kiwior and Milan have had a long-standing interest, if you're going to get a choice to go to one of those clubs, I think you would probably end up picking either Milan or certainly Juve over Bologna. So it doesn't overly surprise me that he doesn't seem like he's in a rush at the moment to just become a bit of a make-weight in this potential deal.
Yeah, exactly that. We know Milan spoke to us about him in January. There's always been rumours of Juventus being involved, but again, I'm not sure if it's done, but they're talking to, why has my name gotten banked? The Lille centre-back, the one that Man United were looking at, and West Ham are looking at. No. The one Juventus was signed. Sorry?
Todibo, isn't it?
Todibo, that's the one. Yeah. I don't know Juventus's position, but it seems unlikely they would sign two. And the only thing that annoys me about this, and look, I get his player's preference, but first of all, we don't know what value that Bologna are putting on him. But if he rules that out and then Juventus aren't in the market because they've signed someone else, the value we get for him will reduce significantly because Milan will know it's them or no one, basically.
Yeah.
Which is a bit of a worry, but it is what it is.
I've seen a few comments here that these type of questions saying, should we be worried about Man United now? And like here, DJ Ashby says Man United are really on fire right now and in for more. Are you, as a fan, starting to get a little bit concerned about the lack of action in the Arsenal transfer window so far?
I'm not concerned because I've not seen a player move yet that I think, we should have gone all out for them. Like I'm jealous of that move. And if you look at who you would say were our two biggest rivals last season in Man City and Liverpool, well, Man City have signed a player from Man City, and Liverpool have done nothing. So we're all of the teams that are sort of fighting for that top tier are all in the same boat. Man United look to have done good work, and I think long term there'll be a problem again with Ashworth at the club. But if you look at who they've got, Xerxes, I mean, there was rumours of us, but that was just Kia. Looking at him, I wouldn't have wanted him. Yoro looks like an incredible talent, but wouldn't be playing for us. And I will always question an 18-year-old centre-half in the Premier League. Like, until he's been and done it, you can have all the talent in the world, but it's a difficult league to play in. So I just even look around Europe and I think, what players, no one that went deep in the Euros. Xerxes is the only move really from someone that went deep in the Euros, but that was only because he secured his move before he went on holiday. So he went straight from Germany essentially so they went out on the Wednesday. I think he'd done his medical on the Friday, and then he will have his break. But beyond that, there's been no moves from anyone that went deep in the Euros really.
No, it's been very quiet. Like I said, yeah, United are certainly the movers now, but I agree that I haven't seen one deal really in this window. I thought, you know what, Arsenal should have been in for him. As you say, I think 70 million as well for an 18-year-old defender. That is, you know, as talented as he is, that has to go in a risk category. I mean, it might well work out and he might well, you know, as a lot of people are suggesting, go on to be an absolute superstar, but that is a bit of a risk, you've got to say as well, committing that sort of money. I'm not sure I'd really want Arsenal to be spending that sort of money right now on an 18-year-old centre-back. So it's not one that I looked at and thought, I'm really jealous of that one. You know, I still am fairly confident that Arsenal are going to do some pretty decent business. I mean, Mikel Merino, we know Arsenal are looking at, and nothing's really moved on as far as I'm aware in the last couple of days with Merino. It's still, you know, I haven't heard of any bid or anything like that. It's still very much still just the interest stage, but they are interested in him. They do like him. They like his profile. And he seems like he's going to be available at a fairly decent price given his contract situation with Sociedad. Do you think he would be someone, and I've spoken about this on my show this week, that my only reservation about this potential deal is I don't look at Merino as good as he is, and he's, you know, I'm no expert on him. I haven't watched him over and over again for our Sociedad, but he does look like he fits the bill of the type of player Arteta's looking for. But I'm not sure he really raises the quality of the team as much as maybe a new midfielder should. But maybe he's also being signed just to kind of fill the El Neni role in the squad. But I doubt it, I have to say, if they do move on. So what are your thoughts on Merino?
Yeah, I mean, I doubt you spend 20 plus to fill that El Neni role. And I think you pretty much summed it up perfectly. He fits the profile. And as we know, Arteta's all about profiles. But does he really make you any better? And that's what I'm not sure on. And that's not saying he's a bad player. But yeah, you talk about ceiling raisers, floor raisers. I'm not sure if he's anything. He's just someone that fits the profile of what we want.
Yeah. And it seems like he's more of an 8 as well than a 6. So, and obviously left-sided. So you'd imagine if he did sign, if Arsenal do firm up this interest and actually get him on board, the likelihood is then you're going to be moving Declan Rice back to play as a number 6. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, so as we've said many times with Rice, that they prefer him as an 8 because they feel he does both jobs at the same time as an 8. Whereas as a 6, you can't do both jobs because getting caught ahead of the ball is suicidal as a 6. So, but I mean, at Arsenal, I mean, it's been out there that they would prefer a 6, but it's a harder market. So if they have to do an 8, they'll do an 8 because they're happy that Rice can play there, but it isn't ideal. And I know a lot of people see him as a 6. A lot of people see Rice as an 8, and that's just personal preference. But as I said, I know they think that as an 8, he kind of does both jobs anyway because his athletic ability gets him back to sit alongside a 6, and it almost becomes a double pivot.
Just on Nwaneri, we were talking earlier. We think he's definitely going to go on the USA tour. In terms of being promoted to the first team, as Hamza asked, I think it's all basically down to Nwaneri now, isn't it? I think he's got a really good opportunity to be in and around the first team week in, week out, I think, this season. Obviously, I'm not expecting him to start 30 odd games, but I think he's got a good chance of getting some decent minutes this season. I think the US tour, I think it's the thing I'm the most looking forward to on the USA tour is Nwaneri and the chance he's hopefully going to get and seeing how he can grab that chance, because he's got a really good opportunity, I think, to muscle his way into the picture this season in the first team.
Yeah, as with the squad being a bit thin, he's going to get minutes on tour, and if he looks good, you kind of make yourself not undroppable because he's not going to start, but you make yourself so you have to be in the squad because your name's on everyone's lips and your performances have been seen. I think it's a huge opportunity for him. I mean, I'm going back some time, but it was like when Jack Wilshere broke into the team, there was like he'd been okay in a couple of Emirates Cups before, and then that summer I'm not sure if it was a Euro. Oh, it was a Euro summer actually. Like people didn't come back. There was a couple of injuries, and he got his chance. Wasn't brilliant in the first game, but they had to keep him in because of squad. And then I think he ended up playing. Well, he played way too many games that season.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that the opportunity is there for him.
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. Thomas Partey. Have you seen the pictures of Thomas Partey in pre-season? He looks very lean, I have to say. The first thing I saw when I looked at him was like, wow, he looks in really, really good shape, Thomas Partey.
I thought the same thing about Jesus. I have always thought Jesus' weight's an issue.
100%. Jesus he looks the leanest I've seen Jesus since basically when he signed for Arsenal. He looks in really good shape. That was really exciting. The two of them, I think they've obviously been doing a lot of work. I mean, it's big. If they do stay, well, I'm certainly expecting Jesus to stay, but if Partey does stay, and I think right now, in answer to the question here, do I believe Partey will leave this summer? It's hard to actually sit there and give a definitive answer because from everything that I've heard, Thomas Partey doesn't want to leave. His preference is to stay at Arsenal and see out the remainder of his contract. And there's been no definitive talks with anyone. There's been stuff going on behind the scenes and sort of sounding out about what the situation is, but there's been no bids, anything like that. And the message from Partey and it's his side of things is that his focus is on Arsenal unless sort of told otherwise, basically, unless Arsenal say we've accepted a really big bid for him, for you can go. And if that's the case, then obviously he'll listen to what's out there. So do I believe he will leave? At the moment, I'm leaning towards no. I think he's going to stay. But obviously, if someone suddenly whacks some money on the table that makes Arsenal consider it, then that can change completely. But I just think the most exciting thing I've seen is the fact of just how fit I think Thomas Partey looks. And like you say, Gabriel Jesus as well, because those two can be fit and have a proper summer behind them and can stay fit. I mean, that could be a huge, huge boost for Arsenal.
Yeah, so on Partey, obviously I'd heard the quotes that James Ben said on your show yesterday, and pretty much at the exact same time I heard from one of my contacts at Arsenal that said they're happy to shift him, but the offer has to be right. And the club are trying to find a buyer, and also his people are looking because obviously it would have to be somewhere that he would want to go.
Well, it's the same situation as last summer, exactly the same, and obviously no bids arrived for him, and so Arsenal kept him, and he stayed, and I think it's exactly the same this summer.
Yeah, just reading his exact words to me that they're happy to keep him if the price isn't there, so that they are more than happy to lose him if the price is there, but they're not hell bent on it, and they won't let him go for peanuts. Is the message I'm getting.
Mm-hmm. Right, let's see what else we've got coming in. So many questions about the mystery German player. Honestly, you should see how many there are in for this. Someone's asked here, where's it gone, about Zinchenko. Will he be sold? I would be surprised now if Zinchenko's got. Again, I think he falls into the category. Well, in fact, I know he falls into the category of if a good offer came in for Zinchenko, they would, probably consider it. But I'm not sure where the market is for Zinchenko now in terms of someone hitting the sort of price that Arsenal would want for him to go. I don't really see that happening. So I'd be surprised if Zinchenko leaves by the end of the window.
Yeah, I think he sort of falls into that category of a different profile from the others. So Kiwior potentially going would be because he's a similar profile to others, where Zinchenko offers something different. There was obviously rumours early in the summer that company could be interested to taking him to Bayern. That is the only potential move I could see for him. And maybe something comes out and you go, oh yeah, actually that could work. But just off the top of my head, I can't see anywhere else apart from Bayern that both he would be interested to go in and also where he could potentially go and play.
Yeah.
So I mean, if he was asking me to nail my colours to the mast now, I would say that he will be an Arsenal player the day after the window closes. But if Bayern firm up a bit, as you said, he will be sold if the price is right. But the options just seem very limited on that.
What about this one? What do you think will happen to Ramsdale from Luke? He's back. You see him yesterday. He was at the cricket. Aaron enjoying himself in the sunshine at Trent Bridge. What do I think will happen to Ramsdale? I still think the likelihood is it will go after he gets back from holiday. I wouldn't surprise me if it ends up being a loan. Obviously, Arsenal would prefer it to be a permanent, but it wouldn't surprise me if it's a loan. So I think that's certainly my expectation at the moment, is that he will probably still leave before the end of the window.
Yeah, like obviously very different to Zinchenko, where again, if I had to nail my colours to the mast now, I would say that he won't be an Arsenal player the day after the window, or won't be at Arsenal. Is it again? We would obviously want a transfer, but we're not going to let him go for peanuts. We put quite a high valuation on him. We won't actually demand that much, but this is the message we're putting out there. And I wouldn't surprise if it'd be a loan. Again, just looking at clubs where there's a potential option, and it doesn't seem like there's too many. I know Wolves have been linked before, but they've got issues with him essentially being a West Brom fan. There's been links with Southampton, but I don't know if a newly promoted club want to spend that kind of money on a keeper. It would surprise me. And you look elsewhere and you sort of think, where is it that he could go?
Yeah, there's not too many, I would say. Well, I've had a few questions about Charlie Patino. You seen Charlie's back playing with the under-21s at the moment. Only got a year left in his contract. Here's one from Curtis, says, is Charlie expected to go on the US tour? If he does, any chance to force his way into Arteta's plans, or is he gone for sure? I have always been told that this is the summer that Charlie Patino goes. Obviously, that could change, but I've always been of the expectation that he will be going this summer one way or the other. I think the fact that he's playing at the moment for the under-21s doesn't, I wouldn't take that as a sign that he's definitely staying. I mean, he's got 1 year left in his contract, and yeah, I think he will go this summer, and if a good offer comes in for him.
Yeah, I mean, the issue is with Charlie, it's the same as last season. They wanted him out last season, and it was like a loan wouldn't be an option, and no one tried to sign it, essentially. So he ended up going out on loan, and obviously this year the sale is the only option. You're not going to loan him out. Well, they might even loan him out, and it means not getting a fee for him. But if no one comes in and they just want to get him sort of off the books, then it might have to be that. It will be interesting with the tour, because obviously last year he didn't really take anyone that he didn't want. Whereas, and it's clear obviously Charlie isn't wanted, but with the shortage of bodies, it will be interesting to see if he goes on tour.
Yeah, he didn't take. I'm trying to think, who did I think Raul Walters was the only youngster he took on.
The only youth fan.
Yeah. Obviously, it's a little bit different because of players went away last summer, but he's not been one to take loads of youngsters on tour. But obviously, I think he definitely will take a few this time. I don't think Charlie will go. I'll be surprised if he does. I think it'd be good if he does, because I know he really expected a couple of years ago that he was going to go on the US tour, and he didn't go, and I know that was a real disappointment to him and his people. And so it'd be nice for him to experience it before he does leave. But I think certainly at the moment that the likelihood is he will go. Are you surprised actually that Joao Neves looks like he's going to PSG? That's going to be a good deal for PSG, I think, if he does make that move there.
Well, what I'm surprised about is the reported fee. So they're talking about 70 million euros.
Yeah, I mean, I was always told that, and I was speaking to people over in Benfica because of the links with Arsenal, that they were very much standing firm on their release clause or nothing. So I was really surprised yesterday when I saw the talk of the potential fee for someone who's clearly hugely talented. And I'm surprised, Portuguese clubs don't usually budge too much when it comes to value of their players. So to suddenly sort of accept only like 70 million euros for someone who's that highly rated, I was really surprised.
Yeah, and it's not like they need I mean, I can't pretend to know their financial position, but they sold Enzo for crazy money last year or 18 months ago. So it can't be financial issues. It is a weird one. I wonder if there's players going in the other direction that haven't been reported. It just seems weird, because I know, as I said, we always said we wouldn't play the release clause, but we were told that's what it would be. And there was rumours earlier in the summer, and obviously it's hard to know how true they were, that United had bid not a million miles off what PSG have bid. I think the rumour was around 60 million. But if that was pounds, then it's the same as what PSG have offered. And again, they're essentially told no, like release clause or nothing. So it does seem a bit bizarre.
Yeah, it does. Just quickly going back to Thomas Partey, people are asking now contract extension if he does prove his fitness, do we offer him a new contract then? I don't see a way Arsenal do that. I think that he's got a year left in his deal. I think he'll see out that contract and then there'll be a parting of the ways next summer. I can't imagine there'll be a contract extension. I mean, obviously, if he plays absolutely monstrously this season, stays injury-free for the whole year and, plays a huge part in Arsenal winning the title, maybe that would change their thinking of it. But at the moment, I'd be very surprised if they end up handing Thomas a new contract.
Yeah, I can't see it. But again, as you said, if he even in the first 6 months of the season for me or up until Christmas is excellent, they might float a 1 year option or put a 1 year option on the 1 year offer, on the table. But if he is playing well at that point, there'll be teams, especially with him on a free, offering three years. So
yeah,
and we're not going to do that. So you'd imagine not, but who knows? Football's a strange game.
Yeah, Will here's picking up on the fact that Jesus looks ready right now. I mean, Jesus has got a real opportunity in this tour. When you look at the players who can make a mark in this tour, obviously Kai's not going to be over there. He's going to he'll come over right at the end, so he might get the Liverpool game. But Jesus, certainly against Bournemouth and United, is going to have the chance, you would think, to lead the line for Arsenal. He's got a real opportunity to make a big point and a statement, really, because people, you kind of almost forgotten a little bit about Gabriel Jesus because of how well Kai played and how well Arsenal played with Kai as the focal point in that second half of last season. Jesus almost became sort of secondary, really. Not many people gave him a thought, but if he can have a really strong tour, play really, really well, get himself a couple of goals, look really sharp, then you would think, given Kai's kind of come back late, Jesus might give himself a chance of actually starting as a striker in the early weeks of the Premier League.
Yeah, or even wide. I think you could get a job out of him. But yeah, again, it's a big chance for him. And I remember the year we signed him, he looked incredible on tour. I mean, I remember the Chelsea game. Was it 4-0? And he just looked. I think that was the first time I was like, oh, I didn't realize he was this good.
Yeah.
Like when we signed him, I was like, oh, we're signing good. And loads of people would go, no, we signed an amazing player. And for me, I was like, he's okay. I'm not disappointed with the signing, but I wasn't like, running around celebrating about it. And then I remember watching that Chelsea game and thinking, oh, he's this good. And then for the first, up until the World Cup, he was excellent.
Yeah, he was unbelievable at the start of that season. Unbelievable. I was in Portugal, and I missed the start of the season. It was played Leicester, didn't we? Beat Palace in the opening night. Game, yeah. When he got a couple, he scored that chip into the top corner, didn't he? That curled finish into the top corner. I was at the airport listening to that on the radio. So I actually missed those games and the last pre-season games. And then my first game back in the press box was Bournemouth away. You remember when Saliba scored that top corner left foot curler? And Jesus in the first 5 minutes, I think Odegaard scored, didn't he? And Jesus set it up with this amazing touch and bring it down and dribble into the area. And I just sat there in the press box and I was just like, my God, this guy is unbelievable. And that run up to the World Cup, and I know the goals dried up just before the World Cup, he was sensational. What was the quote Arteta said? He changed our world, and he genuinely did. If Arsenal could get Jesus back to that sort of level, then he's a hell of a player. He really is.
I said it the other day. I done a Twitter space the other day, and I said, like, people within the squad think he's top 5, number 9 in the world at his best. And I think, that might be going a bit over the top, but that's how highly they rate him. And if you can get that back to anywhere near that, then I hate the term like a new signing, but it is a different player coming into what we saw last year, because there's no one on earth that can tell me what we saw last year was top 5 in the world, number 9. It is funny you mentioned that Bournemouth game, because I remember in that game he bang down like a horrible ball, somehow stuck to him and beat 2 or 3 players. I just laughed. So I'm like, you're not meant to be this good at football. Like, it was just crazy, some of the stuff he does. Like, his natural ability is unbelievable, and I've always said that his weight is an issue, the chop and changing. But when he looks slim and sharp, he is a top player.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a good place to end this now. We're going to head over to Team News and Tix's Patreon for the second part of the show. The link to that is in the description below. So if you want to carry on with this, we're going to go back recorded, not doing that bit live. So it'll be posted up on Team News and Tix's Patreon in, I don't know, probably about half an hour after we've finished having our chat. So keep your eyes peeled for that during the rest of the afternoon. Till then, I'll be back tomorrow to do my regular show. Anything you want me to discuss in that, get down into the comments, leave me some questions or comments. I'll pull some of them together and get them included in the show. Until then, everyone, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate your time as always, and we'll catch up with you very, very soon.